Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we are talking about something really, really fascinating at the intersection of gaming and politics, and how this gaming generation might just reshape how we vote,
Right.
potentially sway future elections and really make their voices heard. So joining us is, well, we're lucky enough to get a sneak peek into some amazing insights from the Gaming Generation Plus study, How Video Games, the Metaverse, and AI Shape Our Lives, a book that's actually coming out in 2025 by Dr.Gazit, who is a leading expert in gaming, the metaverse, and digital innovation. And we're specifically looking at his chapter called Ready Player Democracy. So to kick things off, here's a pretty wild stat. 61% of Americans play video games for at least an hour every single week, which means that is a lot of potential voters out there. So let's see how these political campaigns have been trying to tap into this gaming generation.
You know what's really fascinating is that politicians have actually been trying to kind of harness the power of video games for quite a while now. And it actually goes back, I mean, we can trace it back to Howard Dean's 2004 presidential campaign. They actually launched a game called Howard Dean for Iowa. And, you know, looking back now, it might seem kind of groundbreaking, but back then it was seen as a pretty risky move.
Yeah, I bet it was probably seen as like
And go.
taking away from, serious campaigning.
Exactly. It was like a distraction. But Dean's team, they really recognized that, you got to meet voters where they are. And increasingly, voters were online. Voters were engaged in gaming.
So is Dean really kind of like a visionary in that way? Like, did that actually pay off for him?
Well,
Right.
I mean, the media definitely had a field day with it. But, what it did do is it kind of laid the groundwork for how future campaigns could actually utilize these digital spaces. So fast forward to Barack Obama's 2008 and 2012 campaigns, and you see a much more sophisticated approach. Obama's team, they really expertly leveraged these virtual worlds like Second Life, and they really embraced gamification. To engage with voters. Like, remember those badges you could earn for volunteering or recruiting supporter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those were really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually felt like you were part of something.
Right, exactly. So it wasn't just about being present in these digital spaces. It was about creating these meaningful interactions.
Yeah.
And if you compare that to like John McCain and Mitt Romney's efforts, which just felt much less organic, less engaging. Obama's digital strategy really played a crucial role in mobilizing voters. And that, ultimately in his victories.
Yeah, so by 2012, it was pretty clear that this digital landscape was becoming a major battleground for elections. So what happened in 2016 with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump?
So Hillary's campaign, they tapped into popular games like Farmville. They actually created this game where players could build these virtual campaign offices. But what's so fascinating is how Trump supporters actually kind of hijacked Pokemon Go and turned it into this viral anti-Clinton platform. They're like dropping Pokeballs on her avatar and spreading slogans like Crooked Hillary.
Wow, that's pretty savvy, even if it was a little unorthodox.
It just showed the power of these grassroots movements and how they could really leverage these gaming platforms for political messaging. And then there was that independent game, Drumpulos, which wasn't officially endorsed by the Trump campaign, but it still went viral. And it really started to blur those lines between gaming and political commentary.
Yeah, Drumpulos definitely captured the zeitgeist. So in 2016, we saw both these official campaigns and independent developers using games to try to influence this political discourse. So what about Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden in 2020? Did they embrace this gaming world too?
Absolutely. Bernie Sanders' Super Bernie World was a huge hit with younger voters. It used those classic game mechanics, like the ones found in Super Mario, to actually engage players with his platform.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It was super clever and fun to play.
Right. And it showed that sometimes a little bit of fun can be a really effective way to actually get your message across. And then you had Joe Biden venturing into both Fortnite and Animal Crossing. In Fortnite, they created Build Back Better with Biden, which was this world where players could engage with his policy proposals around infrastructure and climate change. And then you can't forget about Biden Island in Animal Crossing.
Oh, it was adorable.
It was just brilliant. To tap into that popularity of Animal Crossing, particularly among younger voters, it just presented Biden in this much more approachable, relatable light.
So by 2020, it seemed like using gaming to connect with voters was no longer just a novelty. It was becoming the norm. But was there anything really groundbreaking that happened in the world of civic engagement and gaming during this election?
Absolutely. We saw the launch of Build the Vote in Minecraft. This project really took gamified politics into a whole new level. Because it wasn't about campaigning for a specific candidate. It was about educating these young players about democracy itself. Players got to actually vote on real world issues, experience the whole voting process. and understand the impact of their choices.
Wow, that is so impressive. It's like a virtual civics lesson, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just reading about voting in a textbook, they're actually doing it in this really fun, engaging environment.
Exactly. It's about empowering these young people to really understand how democracy works and encouraging them to actively participate in shaping their future.
Now let's move on to the 2024 election. Kamala Harris, recognizing the massive influence of the gaming community, launched Freedom Town in Fortnite, which was designed to kind of showcase her policy vision. Through this virtual world where players could engage with issues like affordable housing and immigration, it seemed groundbreaking on paper, but it didn't quite hit the mark, did it?
Freedom Town. I think it highlights a really critical lesson about engaging with gamers. Authenticity is paramount. Gamers can spot inauthenticity a mile away, and when they sense it, they disengage.
So despite its ambition and high production value, Freedom Town just felt too staged. Like it was a political ad, masquerading as a game.
Exactly. Gamers crave genuine interaction, not thinly veiled political messaging. And that's where the contrast with Donald Trump's approach gets really interesting, because he kind of bypassed those elaborate game worlds altogether, and he focused on appearing on podcasts popular with gamers, like Joe Rogan.
Interesting. So instead of trying to create this whole game, he just inserted himself into spaces where gamers already were.
Precisely. And while this strategy might seem less sophisticated, it resonated with gamers because it felt more authentic. Like Trump was having conversations, debating, expressing his opinions in a setting that felt real, unscripted.
And it worked. He connected with this large segment of the gaming community, not by trying to gamify his message, but by just being himself. It seems like a pretty valuable lesson for any politician trying to connect with this audience. Like, authenticity really trumps everything.
Yeah, and this brings us to a pivotal moment. In the intersection of gaming and politics, Elon Musk's entry into the arena. So in October 2024, Musk sent shockwaves through the political landscape with a single tweet. "We need a video gamer voting bloc. Make games great again."
Oh, wow, I remember that. It was all over the news. He really knows how to get people talking, does he?
Oh, he does. He understands the power of online platforms
Yeah.
and how to mobilize people. And with millions of followers on X, formerly Twitter, that call to action really resonated. Musk, with his history of disrupting industries, he seemed to really grasp the potential influence of this gamer vote, something that traditional politicians hadn't fully grasped yet.
Yeah, it's a huge demographic. We're talking about millions of voters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they are a diverse group with a wide range of interests and beliefs, but they share this common culture and a growing awareness of their collective power. What's interesting is that Musk's timing really coincided with those struggles of Freedom Town, and he offered this alternative. Like, instead of politicians awkwardly trying to insert themselves into games, gamers themselves should become a force to be reckoned with.
So it was less about gamifying politics and more about politicizing gamers.
Exactly. And his "Make Games Great Again" slogan, it really resonated with this sense of frustration among some gamers who felt that politicians were out of touch and didn't understand their culture. It was a call for gamers to take control.
And make their voices heard.
And it worked, didn't it? Trump won a second term and even appointed Musk as his efficiency czar. It was a clear sign that the gamer vote had arrived. As a significant force in politics, suddenly you had a self-proclaimed gamer billionaire in a position of power. It blurred the lines between gaming and politics even further. So, where does that leave us? What happens when a generation raised on video games becomes this dominant force in elections?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's both exciting and a little bit scary. On one hand, gamers are used to problem solving, collaborating, and thinking strategically, so they could bring fresh perspectives to politics.
Yeah, they're digital natives. They're incredibly adept at navigating online spaces, mobilizing communities, and using technology to their advantage.
But there are some potential downsides too, right? What if this focus on entertainment and gamification leads to a less informed electorate? Could complex issues be oversimplified and real-world consequences reduced to mere button presses in a game?
Yeah, those are definitely valid concerns. There's a risk that the gamification of politics could prioritize entertainment over substance, leading to this more superficial understanding of complex issues.
And what about the potential for manipulation? Could campaigns use these sophisticated algorithms and data analysis to target gamers with personalized messages that are actually designed to exploit their biases?
That's another big concern. We already see this happening in social media, and it's not hard to imagine how these techniques could be applied to the gaming world.
So it's a double-edged sword, the rise of the gamer vote. Could lead to this more dynamic and participatory democracy, but it also presents some serious challenges.
It's uncharted territory. and the outcome is uncertain. But what's clear is that the rules of political engagement are changing, and we need to have these open and honest conversations about the implications of these shifts.
Imagine a future where campaigns tailor their strategies to specific gaming communities, like Roblox for kids, Fortnite for teens, Minecraft for young adults, each platform with its own unique culture and demographics.
Yeah, it's not far-fetched at all. I mean, it's already happening to some extent. And the term ballot box gaming might become commonplace in future elections. You know, political discourse could be increasingly shaped by the language and aesthetics of video games.
We've already seen how campaigns can leverage virtual worlds and avatars to connect with voters. But what about the next level? Dr. Gazit's book delves into this potential of AI-powered campaigns in the metaverse. Yeah. So what does that look like?
It's a fascinating and somewhat unsettling prospect. Imagine interacting with AI avatars of candidates. In a virtual world, these avatars could be programmed with the candidate's policies and positions, allowing voters to engage in conversations and even debate with them.
Whoa. So it's like having a one-on-one conversation with a candidate. But it's actually an AI that's both incredible and a little creepy.
Right. It raises a lot of questions about authenticity, transparency, and the potential for manipulation. How do we ensure that these AI avatars are accurately representing the candidates and their platforms?
Yeah. And how do we prevent them from being used to spread misinformation or exploit voters' emotions?
These are all challenges that we need to address, but the potential is also undeniable.
So, what's like the most mind-blowing possibility that Dr. Gazit explores in his book?
One of the most intriguing ideas is this concept of experiential voting in the metaverse. Like, imagine being able to virtually experience the impact of a policy before voting on it.
Okay, hold on. What does that even mean?
So let's say there's a proposed healthcare plan. You could put on a VR headset and step into a virtual world where you experience firsthand how that plan might affect you and your family. You could see how it might impact your access to healthcare, the cost of your premiums, and the quality of care you receive.
Wow. So instead of just hearing politicians talk about policy, you could actually live it. That's a whole new level of engagement.
Exactly. It could revolutionize how we understand and participate in politics. This also raises some serious ethical concerns. Like, how do we ensure that these virtual experiences are accurate and unbiased? Could they be manipulated to sway voters' opinions? And what about the potential for creating even deeper divides between people who have access to these technologies and those who don't?
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. We're talking about potentially reshaping the very fabric of democracy.
The future of democracy in the digital age is a complex and evolving landscape. It's a story that's still being written, and the ending is far from certain.
Really, feels like we're standing at the edge of this digital revolution in politics.
Yeah.
And the choices we make now, both as individuals and as a society, are going to have a huge impact on the future of democracy.
Yeah, and that's precisely the point that Dr. Gazit drives home. In Ready Player Democracy, he doesn't offer any easy answers, but he really urges us to think critically and engage in these open discussions about these emerging technologies and their potential consequences.
So we've explored this evolution of gaming in politics, from Howard Dean's early foray into the digital space to the rise of AI-powered campaigns in the metaverse. It's been fascinating and a little bit unsettling, to be honest.
It's a complex landscape with a lot of unknowns, but one thing is certain. The gaming generation is here, and they are a force to be reckoned with.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What should they be thinking about as we move forward in this digital age?
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to be aware of the potential for both good and bad outcomes. You know, these technologies can be incredibly powerful tools for engaging citizens, promoting transparency, and even improving the decision-making process. But they can also be used to manipulate, divide, and undermine democracy itself.
So awareness is key. We can't just sit back and let these technologies shape our future. Without our active participation, we need to be informed, engaged, and critical thinkers.
Absolutely. We need to develop media literacy skills, learn how to identify misinformation, and be wary of attempts to exploit our emotions or biases. We also need to demand transparency and accountability from those who are developing and deploying these technologies.
And what about the ethical implications? How do we ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and don't exacerbate existing inequalities?
That's a crucial question. You know, we need to have these open and honest conversations about the potential risks, develop safeguards. establish ethical guidelines. We also need to think about access and inclusion. How do we make sure that everyone has equal access to these technologies and that they are not used to further marginalize or disenfranchise certain groups?
It's a tall order, but I think it's worth the effort. Because ultimately, the future of democracy is in our hands. It's up to us to decide how we want to shape this digital age and what kind of society we want to create.
We need to be the authors of our own digital destiny.
That's a great way to put it. This has been an incredibly thought-provoking deep dive, and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to learn more and engage in these important conversations.
Yeah. And Dr. Gazit's book, The Gaming Generation Plus, provides a fantastic starting point. It's packed with insights and challenges us to really grapple with the complexities of this new era.
Yeah, I can't wait to read the full book when it comes out next year. And I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to understand the future of politics, technology, and society. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds engaged. So we've talked about a lot of really complex and potentially game-changing concepts in this deep dive. But as we wrap things up, what's like the one big takeaway you'd want our listeners to walk away with?
You know, I think it all boils down to this. The future of democracy in the digital age, it's not something that's predetermined. It's something that we're all actively shaping through our choices, our actions, and our engagement.
So it's not a spectator sport.
Definitely not. We can't just sit on the sidelines and watch this unfold. We need to be informed. We need to be critical thinkers. And most importantly, we need to participate.
And that participation can take many forms, right?
Absolutely. It can be as simple as staying informed about the issues, engaging in thoughtful discussions, or even just voting. But it can also mean demanding more from our elected officials, holding them accountable, and pushing for policies that reflect our values.
I love that. It's a call to action, to be active citizens
Yeah.
in this rapidly evolving digital world.
Exactly. And Dr. Gazit's book, The Gaming Generation Plus, really provides this roadmap for navigating these uncharted waters.
Yeah, I'm definitely adding that to my reading list. So folks, if you want to understand the future of politics, technology, and society, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Gazit's work. And until then, keep those minds engaged, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep playing the game. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.